Hey, Fort Mill, I'm Mr. Young, your career development facilitator, and I have with you today my good friend, Mr. Trey Closson. It's been a minute, but I'm so thankful that you reached out. Hey, man, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Eddie. It's so good to reconnect with you. Thanks for letting me do this.
Man, it is a pleasure. I tell you what, guys, if you're or when you watch this, please take out a notepad or take some notes on your phone or whatever. This is going to be some really good information. Trey has done a great job, and I'm not going to give him too much of the goods right now. I'm going to let him talk a little bit about it. Mr. Clausen, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your career?
Yeah, for sure. So I am Trey Closson. I live in Atlanta, Georgia now. I've lived here for about 12 years. And currently, I am the co-founder and CEO of Amplio. We are a three-year-old startup that works in the supply chain world. We help manufacturers that have excess inventory and surplus assets sell those assets through a marketplace. So there's about $250 billion of excess inventory that manufacturers have in North America. And currently, they either throw that inventory away or recycle it. Which is not good for their business and it's not good for the environment. And so we've made a way for them to be able to sell those assets and make some money doing it.
So tell me that number one more time. You said how many billion?
Yeah, 250 billion. It is a remarkable number. And just imagine all of that money going into a landfill or getting sent into a recycling bin. It's just staggering.
Yeah, that's not good in many ways. So now, what type of assets are you dealing with?
Yeah, so it is primarily industrial equipment and electronic components and electronic equipment. So you can think of a manufacturing facility, the machines that companies are using. Think of your favorite product. It has been manufactured by somebody, and so the machines that are used to make your favorite gadget, toy, whatever it is, we sell those machines and then the electronic components that go into them as well. So you can think of the little chips that are in your phone, computer, tablet, whatever your device is. We sell those items as well, and those electronic components are very bad for the environment. And so if they end up in a landfill, they don't actually ever degrade. And so there are very special requirements for how those things should be disposed. And so it's not good if that type of stuff ends up in a landfill.
Oh, wow, yeah. So your business is not just serving the businesses themselves with all their product and helping them make money. You're also helping our globe, helping the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm sure that everybody experienced the challenges of supply chain shortages that happened around the time of COVID, where you ordered a product and the company was like, "Cool, thanks for ordering. We'll get it to you in a year." The majority of those shortages that occurred could have been resolved by inventory that was just stashed away in a warehouse somewhere with some other organization. And so we're helping to make sure that organizations have the parts that they need when they need them to produce the products that you've ordered, and so it's been a really fun journey to be able to recycle, reuse these products and help out our customers.
Now, when I met you, you were a budding, busy freshman at Furman University. Talk to us a little bit about your path from Furman to now.
Yes, yeah, totally. So I've been in the supply chain world for about 15 years. And going into Furman, I had literally no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I had very few examples in high school of folks with successful careers, and also people that actually enjoyed what they were doing. And so Furman was a really awesome experience for me, because it was the first time in my life where I enjoyed going to school, in large part because I was encouraged by my professors and staff, like working with you, to really explore what my interests were and to learn what those interests were. And so I think at Furman, So I studied philosophy and urban development, and in the midst of that, I learned how to uh, I learned how to learn. I learned how to ask questions and think from first principles. So instead of taking at face value what somebody told me, really trying to think critically and evaluate what is this person telling me. What do I believe about the world? What does this person believe about the world? And how can I really assess and evaluate what they're saying? So yeah, studying philosophy, uh, your parents may not love. My parents did not love that I studied philosophy because they weren't sure what I was going to do with my life. But it taught me how to approach the world and really evaluate and understand. Yeah, worldview. It helped me to understand and think through problems and solving problems and challenges. So while I was at Furman, I started to learn that I loved thinking about how the world works. Primarily, how do the products that we use on a daily basis actually get to the shelves and the stores that we buy them from? And remarkably, over 99% of what we use on a daily basis has some portion of the product that's made somewhere else in the world. And so it was. I started to think about how do these products get moved around the world, and then what's the impact to the global economy by the fact that these products are getting traded around the world. And so I learned about supply chain management, international economics, and global trade. And in the midst of that, realized that the two biggest factors for a healthy, growing regional economy or national economy were global trade and the empowerment of women. And so I thought deeply about, okay, what does it look like for me to be in a role where I get to hopefully empower women in the midst of growing in their careers and finding what they enjoy doing. But then also, how can I be involved in the world of global trade? And studying philosophy in urban development, it wasn't any practical skills necessarily that I learned for global trade. But I knew that I wanted to be working for a company, working in an industry where I could be involved with things, involving global trade.
What's beautiful about your story is how you started literally from being wide open, not sure of what you wanted to do, to narrowing it down to something very specific and very focused. And I think that takes one. It takes a lot of effort, but it also takes an openness of being able to explore not just different career paths, but also internally and say, this is what I'm actually really interested in and what's important to me.
Yeah, totally. I think that I didn't have this framework when I was at Furman or when I first graduated, but something that a mentor shared with me probably about 5 years ago is that the sweet spot of really finding what you want to do with your life is understanding what are you good at. So what are your inherent gifts and skills and capabilities? What creates value for others? And what is actually fulfilling to you. And so that's like the home run is when you find something that you're good at, something that's fulfilling, and then creates value for other people. And I think really blessed that I've been able to. It's taken some time, but I'm blessed that I'm able to be in that spot now.
But once again, the ability to take that time and find it, because what you just said, I'm not sure who your mentor is, but you need to shake his hand or give him a hug or something, because that was great. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
there.
yeah. Totally agreed. Totally agreed. And I think that one of the challenges with finding your vocation is that when I graduated, I was in a hurry to do something that was really fulfilling. I loved my time at Furman, and so I was like, okay, I need to make an impact in the world right away. But I think now I've come to realize that the time that I spent in my 20s really understanding what I'm good at, what I'm curious about, what I think about on my downtime, and then understanding what are my skills and capabilities. Because I could want to be a professional athlete, but I'm 5'9" and a mediocre athlete, and so it was really important to understand what's the mix of things that I'm actually good at and that I'm inherently curious about.
I love it. I love it. Now, what would you say is the best thing about your career?
Yeah, so I think one thing that I've learned about myself is that the way that I've been made, I crave newness and variety in my day to day, and so there are a lot of different things that folks can do that are new and have variety. But yeah, I knew that I needed to have something dynamic and kind of ever changing. I also recognized that I really thrive interacting with people. I love getting to hear other people's stories and learning about their worldview and their culture through interacting with them, and that I wanted to solve problems. So I love making an impact by understanding somebody's problem, a business's problem, and trying to solve those. So working in the supply chain world, I get to do that on a daily basis. So I've had the opportunity in my 15 years to visit over 20 countries. So I've been able to see the world through my job, and my perspective of the world has been largely shaped in those interactions. So sitting down and having a meal with somebody that's in China, learning about how they grew up, what they enjoy doing, what their day to day life looks like, has been significantly impacting to my world as well. And then I think the last piece is that each person has a story, and I try to give space for the folks that I get to work with on a daily basis to tell their stories. Oftentimes, the customers and vendors that I work with, they are just dealing with problems all day. Working in supply chain is incredibly difficult and challenging, and there's pretty much always something going wrong. And so I try to create space for them to be able to share about those challenges and hopefully leave the interaction with me with some type of positive experience for them, that okay, everything else might be going wrong, but at least this little part of the world that they're working with me is has some positive impact in their day-to-day life.
Now, you started to touch on this just now, as far as the challenges within this career. What would be the most challenging aspect of this job?
Yeah, so I love that there's a like a challenge or a new problem every day to solve. But sometimes that can get a little bit tiring. So my first job out of college, I was doing international logistics for BMW's manufacturing plant in Greenville, South Carolina, and I was the only person that volunteered to be the on call person at night when something was going wrong in the manufacturing site. So I would get calls in the middle of the night by somebody either at the manufacturing plant or somebody in Germany that they had a part that they were missing, and so I'd have to wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and charter a plane or figure out how to get a part to the plant. That's an extreme example, but sometimes the challenges are just not solvable, and that can be hard. Um, I think the other part that's challenging. So I've been really fortunate to be able to start my own business, and it is super exciting. It can be glamorous to be able to start a company. But when you start a company, you get to build a product and a company from scratch, which is awesome, but it also means that you have to build everything else from scratch. So the administrative aspect of how do you pay people? How do you handle benefits? How do you handle time off? How do you set up a bank account and pay people? Those types of things can be boring for me, but they're important to making sure that the people get paid and can have medical insurance, and that our vendors get paid. So yeah, those things can be boring and challenging, but yeah, it's still thankfully the positives of building a company outweigh those boring aspects of it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Sometimes those boring aspects are necessary.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yes, I completely agreed. If I only did things that interested me, then yeah, my wife and my kids and the people I work with would not be very happy.
At all.
No.
So, last question I have for you, brother.
Yeah.
Let's say you have the entire population of Fort Mill High School listening to you, and they asked what's for that, and they're looking for advice on their future career search. What's one piece of advice you would give them?
Yeah, so I think that it comes from an inherent belief that we are made to work, and that work and vocation are critical parts of having a fulfilling life. They are not the only part of having a fulfilling life. If your identity is built on your work, then you're destined for disappointment. But because I think that we're made to work and it's such an important piece of who we are, we're really playing the long game. We're going to be working for 40, 50, 60 years. And so we don't need to be in a rush to really figure out what it is that we are made to do. And so I think that it's really critical to understand and figure out what's interesting to you. What are you curious about? What do you think about when you're not in school? What are you inherently good at? Spend some time really understanding what you're good at, and ask people, ask your family, ask your friends. Hey, what do you think that I'm really good at? What do you see is different about me compared to other people that you work with? And then what creates value for others? And I mentioned this briefly earlier, but I think your 20s are best spent trying to answer some of these questions. And then 30s are spent really cultivating the capabilities and skills to be able to excel in that space. And then your 40s and beyond are spent sowing the seeds that you've planted in the earlier part of your career. And so don't be in a hurry to answer all these questions. Really take the time to be able to figure it out, and then get to reap the benefits of that over time in your career.
Trey, this has been wonderful. I really appreciate you giving up just a little bit of your time to share with me and my students. Students, if you have questions, make sure that you reach out to me. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye bye.
Awesome. Thank you.